मममन्दमतेर्गते मतसोराधामदनमोहन श्रीमद् वृंदारण्य कल्पद्रमदा श्रीमद् रत्नाकर सिंहासनस्थो श्रीमन् श्रीला राधा गोविंददेव प्रेष्ठालभिः सेव्यमानः स्मरामि श्रीमन् रासरासरं वीवं श्रीवडततस्थिता कर्षण वेणुस्मणैर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथ श्रियस्तुनः तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वृंदये तुलसी दिव्यये प्रियये केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवतये नमो नमः. Please repeat everyone. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Bhajo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Shri Harinama Sankirtana Yajna ki Jai Shri Harikatamrita Mahamahotsav ki Jai प्रेम विलास ग्रंथ की जाय नित्यानंद दास प्रभु की जाय श्रीला भक्ति रक्षक श्रीधर देव गोस्वामी महाराज की जाय श्रीला गुरु महाराज की जाय श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जाय निताय गौर हरि की जाय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जाय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. Okay. So we were in the chapter 1, birth of Srinivasacharya. Just to recap, people who were not there before and also for us, because it's been a while, we came back to the Katha. So we were looking at how the birth of Srinivasacharya actually was commissioned by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was living in Jagannath Puri when this happened. Mahaprabhu could basically see the future and sense that who will be the person who will take the Nam Sankirtan forward. Nam Sankirtan also includes the preaching. Means who will take the Krishna Katha forward, who will take the Krishna consciousness movement forward after this generation. Then he was planning. And also at the same time, Advaitacharya writes a letter to Mahaprabhu. Advaitacharya writes a letter saying that, giving him a hint that his avatar is coming to an end soon. He is giving an indication that now you can enter your Gambhira Leela, that is Shesha Leela. That is when Mahaprabhu, last 12 years, he kept it for Rasaswadan. So Mahaprabhu came for two reasons. One is mainly for his own internal pleasure. That is always there. That is the case when Krishna comes down, when Mahaprabhu comes down, when any avatars of the Lord comes down. So he is the center. So the sole purpose is for his own enjoyment. That is the sole purpose. So along with that, he will also do the Dharma Samsthapanarthaya. So in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Dharma Samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Whenever the dharma goes down, goes up, so and dharma goes down, he comes down himself or he sends his representatives. So that is the secondary function of Krishna, actually. So to uplift all of us, this is a secondary function. But for us, it is all in all. It's all primary thing. But for him, whenever he comes down, it is for his own pleasure. It has to be that way because he is the center, he is the enjoyer, he is the supreme. What defines the Lord? What defines the Lord's position? What is Lord's position? Swayam Bhagavan, right? Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. What does Swayam Bhagavan mean actually? Swayam Bhagavan actually means that he is the Lord of the sweet land. And what is that sweet land? It is the land of cows, Goloka. So that is his position, that he is the sweet Lord of that sweet land, enjoying his pastimes with his sweet devotees. So the sweetest plane. So Guru Maharaj always used to say there are even gradations in anything and everything. That is the words of Sridhar Maharaj as well. Gradation is there in anything and everything. Taratamya is there in anything and even within Krishna. So sweet, sweeter, sweetest. So Krishna in Dwaraka is sweet, in Mathura is sweeter, and in Vrindavana is sweetest. So when he is connected to the sweetest plane, when he is the Lord of that sweetest plane, so that defines his position as supreme enjoyer. Because what is Krishna doing in Vrindavan? He is supremely enjoying. He is not there maintaining the material world, or he's not there maintaining his pupils there or anything. Everyone actually maintains Krishna there in one way. Means they're all caring for Krishna so much. They all want to serve Krishna in their own rasa. But what is the subservient rasa there? Or what is the, in one way, what is the mukhya rasa for them is dasya. Means everyone is connected to Krishna in serving dasya. That is the integral and most important factor which we need to connect to as well. So that we all have to connect to Krishna in the service attitude, in the bhava which is inherent to the jiva. So why I mentioned these points is when Krishna comes down, he comes down for his own pleasure. So that is his primary reason. Chaitanya Charitamrita multiple times reminds us why Krishna comes down. There is primary and secondary. Primary reason is for rasaswadan. Antaranga karikore rasaswadan. Bahiranga karikore Nama Sankirtan. So Bahiranga means externally in public, he is distributing the holy name. Internally, he is tasting the mellows of Mahabhav. So Mahabhav Swarupini is Sri Radha Thakurani. So he is tasting the mellows, what she alone tastes. Mahabhav is only tasted by Srimati Radharani. The what do you say, the drops of Mahabhav is given to the very close associates of Radharani by her mercy. But Mahabhav to the unlimited degree is experienced by only Radharani. That's what actually brings Krishna down as Mahaprabhu, to taste that Mahabhav, because he is bereft of that. He has not got that. What is that? What is Mahabhav? That is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness to the fullest degree. We all are trying to cultivate Krishna consciousness, but can we go to that degree of Krishna consciousness? Probably not, because we don't have the capacity. Even when we are perfected as Siddha Swarupa, Siddha Deha, when we get, even then we cannot taste it to the degree of what Srimati Radharani tastes, because that is her supreme position. And even Krishna is bewildered, Krishna is surprised, perplexed, and anxious. All these feelings are coming in him when he sees the anguish which he feels in the separation of Krishna. That is union in separation. That is the Vipralamba Bhav. So that is the highest Bhav. And within that Vipralamba Bhav is what she goes through is Mahabhav. So when Krishna experiences that, it has to be from Mahaprabhu's point of view. Means when Krishna comes down as Mahaprabhu, when Radharani gives her Mahabhav to Krishna, so she gives her Mahabhav. So that Vama Bhav which she gives is actually what the Mahabhav is. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes down, he experiences that. When does he experience? Fully. The last 12 years, he kept it for himself. Last 12 years, he pretty much was in a very solitary life. So he was only surrounded by very, very few, like how in Radha Kunda, Krishna is surrounded by very few devotees, very accountable. That is why it is a very high place. When we go to Radha Kunda, we should make sure that we don't do any offense there. Even sitting there for mundane things, it is not allowed. What to talk about swimming in the waters of Radha Kunda. So we have to be very, very careful when we approach that very high plane, because the Lord is served very sweetly by very countable devotees. Even Raghunath Das Goswami said that I have no place in Radha Kunda. I only go there for my service in the daytime and come back to my eternal residence, which is Govardhan. So our highest position which we can achieve as dasas, and the abode which we can achieve is Govardhan. It is clearly mentioned in Brihad Bhagavatamritam, and also all of our acharyas have clearly given us the instructions that, so do not do not venture in Radha Kund in your mind, thinking that you will get a service there. Yes, if Lord wishes, if our master wishes, Srimati Radharani wishes, we might get some service to go and do there. But if we think that mentally, if we think that, oh, I have qualification to live in Radha Kund, that is where that is where the problem will start, because we are trying to venture where we don't have the capacity. Yes, many people have apartments in Radhakund. I'm not talking about the material mundane plane there. So even Radhakund, what we see now might appear mundane, but it is divine even now. Means we need to have the divine eyes to connect to that plane. So Mahaprabhu comes down and experiences this Mahabhava in last 12 years. Before that, how does he enter this mode is when he gets the letter from Advaita Acharya. He gets the letter from Advaita Acharya, and also gets a letter from Nityananda Prabhu saying that Advaita Acharya is cultivating in one way Mayavad or Gyan or whatever it is. He is not really preaching the mellows of devotional service, and Mahaprabhu is upset because of that, because that is one other way which Advaita Acharya is provoking Mahaprabhu to send more fired up devotees, so where they can carry on this wonderful bhakti marg. So, and right after that letter from Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya himself writes a letter saying that Bholake kahiha loka haila bola, Bholake kahiha hatena vikaya chola, Bholake kahiha kaya nahi kaula, Bholake kahiha iha kahiya che bola. Please inform Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is acting like a madman, that everyone here has become mad like him. Also inform him that in the marketplace rice is no longer in demand. Further tell him that those now mad in ecstatic love are no longer interested in the material world. Also tell Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one who has also become a mad man in ecstatic love, that is Advaita Prabhu, has spoken these words. Means he has done his work. That's what in the gist. This letter was very puzzling and very mysterious. Only Swarup Damodar and Mahaprabhu could understand the internal meaning of this letter. Many people were puzzled. They couldn't understand what was happening. And from that day on, Mahaprabhu's mood changed. Mahaprabhu's mood changed drastically, because this letter was giving indication. Manjunath Prabhu, I think you'll have to mute. Otherwise, there is a feedback. Sorry. I'll just see if I can mute from my end. Okay, I've muted him. All right, sorry. So yeah, Mahaprabhu's mood changed drastically, and everyone were like so sad to see the transformation what happened, because they could not see their sweet Lord falling down like a stick on the floor. He used to rub his cheeks to the walls of Gambhira. He confined himself in the four walls of Gambhira, which is very hard. It was a thunderbolt for the devotees, because if you really think from what really happened in the hearts of those devotees, it's shocking and heartbreaking, because they could see the moon-like face every day. They could dance with him. They could have his darshan. They could feel his presence every day. But all of a sudden, Mahaprabhu decided basically to go very solitary, confined in four walls, between four, between only two or three devotees. His assistant Govinda was there, and Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar was there. Pretty much only these three personalities lived with Mahaprabhu most of the time. And in one way, it was a benediction for the other devotees from Mahaprabhu, to give them the separation, so they could feel intense separation from Mahaprabhu, so they could get that Krishna Prem experience more intense. So what transformations Mahaprabhu went through, that is the results of Mahabhav, experiencing Mahabhav, which the world had never seen. World had never seen. The world means not just the Kali Yuga, no other yugas, any yugas you can think of. No one had displayed the Ashtasatvika vichars to that degree and to that intensity. So that's why even in other sampradaya, they say how amazing is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Some of the Vaishnava sampradayas might not agree that he is Supreme Lord, but they all agree that he was the greatest devotee of Krishna, because even in their books, in their Sampradaya books, which came in later on, it is mentioned that there was a Krishna Bhakta where they had never seen the intensity of devotion like him, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Means anyone could feel that this is out of the world thing. What they have seen, they have never heard, they have never seen. Only people who had Shastra Gyan, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he knew that these things are mentioned in the scriptures, Ashtasattvika Vichars, and he has only read it. He had never seen it. And he's showing it all together parallelly, choking, perspiring, palpating, fainting. All these things are happening simultaneously. And what went through the transformation, like his joints used to get elongated, and just the skin used to hold the joints with 6 inches gap. Can we just even think of that? And he used to become like a tortoise, like a football, like that. And he used to be found in the cow dung, smeared with cow dung in the cow shed. Sometimes he used to sit outside the Jagannath temple, scratching the ground with the nails, and he used to damage all his fingers. And he used to make a big ditch where by the time the day falls, um, the ditch was filled by his teardrops. The tears used to come like water from the syringe, and he used to rub his cheeks to the floor, to the walls, and he used to pass through the walls of Gambira to see Jagannath. Like so many things. So just before this mood happened, he knew that he's going to enter this kind of mood, that is the intense mood of devotion. So he wanted to make sure before he leaves that the next generation is ready, so that they can take this mm, movement for further, bhakti movement further. So he commissioned, he actually goes and prays to Jagannath that I want a devotee to basically take birth who will fulfill my desire. And Jagannath says there is a very devoted family. His name is Chaitanya Das. Chaitanya Das was also very uh, devoted personality, and I would say a big admirer of Mahaprabhu. In fact, he got that name uh, when he saw Mahaprabhu taking sannyas in Katwa. He just started chanting Krishna Chaitanya, 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 and then his name became Chaitanya Das. So his wife Padmavati, she was also a very devoted lady, and they had come to Jagannath Puri. So Jagannath is speaking this to Mahaprabhu. Jagannath is saying they had come to Jagannath Puri, and they are begging for a son from me. And see, the other day we were discussing the begging of a Vaishnava or prayers of Vaishnava, uh, because what we are taught in the Sampradaya is we never ask anything to Krishna. It might be health, wealth, anything mundane. We never ask. Whatever mundane means, whatever is required for us. We never ask anything from Krishna. We only ask one thing: how can we serve you? That is the only prayer we have to Krishna. We don't ask to sort out our issues. We don't ask anything, even mental peace. It is very hard, but this is the highest ideal. Um, but we see in the whole Puranas that people are, devotees, great devotees are doing prayers for son or this or that. So we should understand the context here and the difference of the mood. So when a Vaishnava prays for a son, what does it mean? It means that especially the great devotees like Chaitanya Das and Padmavati, they are asking son, whatever their prayers are, they will utilize um, in the process of bhakti. It is not for their own sense pleasure, or that they will feel good that if they have son, or if they have son, then they can get moksha, or if they have son, then their lineage will be complete or delivered or something like that. That is not the goal. Their only one pointed intention is, if they have a son, they can basically engage him in the service of the Lord. And if he can be an empowered personality, who can empower others. So they are thinking about the whole world. They are thinking that if a devotee son is born, then he can transform so many other lives. So if that is the prayer, then there is no problem. There is no problem. So this is what happened before, and then Mahaprabhu got the sanction from Jagannath that a great devotee called Srinivasacharya will be born from the womb of Padmavati, and then Keturi Gram, which we recently went to Keturi Gram when we went to Mayapur, where Srinivasacharya's Bhajan Stali was there. We visited that. So he will be born there, and then he will be spreading Krishna consciousness. So what happened in his life? Whom did he meet? How he went through? It is a very beautiful pastime of Srinivasacharya. It's very painful also, because the way he longs for Mahaprabhu and how he just misses out Mahaprabhu's darshan. He has his darshan from his divine eyes, but he wanted to see him when Mahaprabhu was present. So he misses that. He misses hearing Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit, and so many things happen in his life. Happens. So finally he comes to Vrindavan, and he'll be in the care of Sri Rupa and Sanatan, and how he finds his guru, and then how Jiva Goswami gives him the instructions to protect the uh, scriptures, because if Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur and Shamanand Pandit were not commissioned to do that job, with that great service, probably the Sampradaya wouldn't have carried forward and reached us till now, and will continue for a long time. So we owe a lot to Srinivas. That's why even in our Jayadvanis we give pranams to Jais to these three devotees, Shamananda Pandit, Srinivasacharya, and Narottam Das Thakur. Prabhutraya, we say Prabhutraya, three people. So we are now at the first chapter, birth of Srinivasacharya. So I had to just give you a recap of how Jagannath sanctioned that the child will be born, and he'll be a magnificent child, magnificent devotee who will carry on the movement of Mahaprabhu. Okay. So we'll continue reading that. So it's already 3:56. Okay, we still have 10 more minutes before 15 minutes before this session ends. Then we'll basically join back. Okay. So where did we leave last time? Okay, we are here. The Lord then touched Lakshmi Priya's head and told her to be happy, for she was carrying an extraordinary soul in her womb. Not your Lakshmi Priya, sorry, not Padmavati, my mistake. Okay, Lakshmi Priya became intoxicated with ecstatic love. That love filled her so much that she awoke from her sleep and began to cry. Symptoms of Krishna Prema become visible on her body. Lakshmi Priya is the wife of Chaitanya Das, mother of Srinivasacharya. Sorry, I just got I mistook this name because I was talking about Nityananda Das, who was the author earlier. Then I got confused with Nityananda Prabhu's mother. Sorry. So Lakshmi Priya told her husband, "Oh Lord, be careful. A great personality is residing in my body. Because of him, all my distress and lamentation have been vanquished." So even when she was conceived, she knew, because the whole environment changed for her. Like how when Krishna was there in the womb of Devaki, it was a very different experience for her. And the whole body and the environment changed for both of them. So that was the same case happened with Lakshmi Priya, mother of Srinivasacharya. "Do not leave me alone and go anywhere by yourself. Simply perform Sankirtan at home day and night." Such a wonderful prayer. If all the ladies get some inspiration from Lakshmi Priya like this, she is saying a great personality is coming. So don't go anywhere. Just sit here and do Nam Sankirtan day and night. This is the best thing which we can give. It's like Garbhadharana Samskar. So Chaitanya Das replied, Her husband replied, if I do not go out and do my duty, then what would we eat? This is the question probably all of us got. Lakshmi Priya replied to her husband, we have received a great treasure. Because of this, our poverty will be destroyed and our lives will become successful. What poverty she's talking about? She talking about the mundane poverty? That is covered anyways, but the real poverty is we don't have Krishna. So, and we don't have the eternal abode. We are not in the eternal abode. The real poverty is we are stuck in a jail, the Durga. So we are stuck in this material world. So Durga means fort. So material energy is Durga. So she has bound us in this fort of material world. So that itself is a very poor life. So we are stuck with this poverty. So Lakshmi Priya says, because of this, our poverty will be destroyed and our lives will become successful. You can already see auspicious signs. Do you remember how cruelly the king treated his subjects? Means the king of that place was not really a good man. He was not treating them very nicely. And all of a sudden, as she conceived Srinivasacharya, the positivity changed the whole environment. The king also started behaving very nicely. Do you remember how cruelly the king treated his subjects? How is it that the king has now become peaceful and has even made friends with his citizens? Our village landlord once left our village out of disgust. Landlord left because of the king's problem. But now he is ready to return. Ever since our son entered my womb, you and I have become joyful. Means we are happy. All of a sudden we are joyful. And our fear of the Yavanas have disappeared. There were many other auspicious symptoms in the village. The villagers had always worshipped goddess Durga, Lord Shiva, and other demigods. Now they chant only Krishna's holy names. How is it possible? But a sinful Brahmana living in the village went to landlord to report on the change in the people's religious practice. He said, oh master, people are no longer chanting the names of Shiva and Durga. Please stop this nonsense. The landlord, who was named Durgadas, said angrily, who has dared teach them something else? Because they were all chanting Krishna Nam. They had become very peaceful. So all of a sudden, the whole environment changed. So this particular person is asking, there was a Brahmana who was envious of all this. Always there will be some personalities like this. Just give me a second. Madhu is there. I'll just open the door for him. It's okay. So sorry. Okay, so this particular Brahmana was very envious of devotees. So what happened was he went and complained to the landlord, and the landlord Durgadas took it very seriously. He is saying this, who has dared teach them something else? If I find anyone chanting names other than Shiva or Durga, I will plunder his house and destroy it. Durgadas then called for a drummer and told him to announce throughout the village that everyone must either chant the names of Shiva and Durga or face ruination. But as soon as the drummer beat his drum, the sound Radha Krishna sounded from it. So this is another amazing thing. So the village children then began to chant the holy names of Sri Radha and Krishna and dance in ecstasy. A miracle happened there. So he wanted to show them that what you're doing is wrong. But even the drum sound resounded in the form of Radha and Krishna, and the women's minds filled with joy as they become intoxicated by the drum's vibration. They too chanted Radha and Krishna holy names while dancing. So the whole the village started chanting the holy names. Young and old, the people walked in procession to Chaitanya Das's house, accompanied by the landlord. Although Chaitanya Das was made anxious by seeing the landlord at his door, he offered him respect and an asana. So the landlord came to teach a lesson to Chaitanya Das. But even though he knew that he is not coming in a good mood, he still offered. That is the culture of the culture of the land, and also it is the etiquette and bidding the people to disperse, Chaitanya Das turned to his guest. Durga Das bathed, and then Chaitanya Das presented him with a palatable food. So he also gave him nice prasad. So the landlord ate to his full satisfaction and then laid down to rest. While he was asleep, he suddenly heard the sounds of mridangas and kartals. He awoke with a start, but he could not see anything. Meanwhile, in an adjoining room, means he could hear the Sankirtan, but he could not see anything, so he was a bit puzzled. So, are you all following? Means, can you hear me properly? And is it all clear? Hopefully, it is.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhu, all clear.
Nice. Okay. So the landlord ate to his full satisfaction and he laid down to rest, but then he could hear the Sankirtan. But when he opened his eyes, he could not see anyone there performing the Sankirtan. Meanwhile, in an adjoining room, Lakshmi Priya told her husband, "Oh Acharya, I saw two golden complexioned children dancing in them, came before me and grabbed my feet with a smile. He told me to wait for 10 months and that I would again be able to see him dance." So when Durga Das overheard this, so she is saying, Lakshmi Priya called her husband and said she could see two kids basically who had golden complexion, and then they are uh, chanting, and also they're doing Sankirtan, and one of the child came before and grabbed her feet and said that in 10 months he is going to appear and then he will make everyone dance, and also everyone can see him dance. When Durga Das overheard this, because he is sitting in the adjacent room, he began to condemn himself. He then realized that what grave mistake he has done. Because from the platform of envy, if anyone does any act, it becomes an aparad. So he knows in the heart that he has committed a Vaishnava aparad. So he is lamenting, he is condemning himself. He cried and rolled on the ground. So that is the best atonement. What is the best prayashchita? There are many prayashchitas in the shastras which is recommended. So doing yajnas and doing many pujas and havans and everything. But those yajnas and the topmost prayashchita is pashatapa. So yajnas and havans, they're all secondary. So the topmost, when someone wants an atonement, um, if they don't feel, that pashatap is not there, if they don't feel, if they don't regret to their mistake, and if they don't feel sorry for what they have done, then there's no point of doing any sort of formal atonements, or any um, actions which they do just for the sake of, okay, if someone, they'll go to a pandit and they will say, okay, do this yagya or do this yaga or go to the river and bathe in a river or do some godan or give some gold coins to brahmanas. It all has some value, but if the undercurrent is not having any regret, but just to basically counteract the sin what they have done, then it really doesn't mean anything, because the highest atonement is in the pashatapa. So here, especially when the Vaishnava aparad is done, it is like a mad elephant rushing into your garden. It will destroy everything, whatever you have cultivated till then, in a second. It can destroy towns. Towns are destroyed by elephants. Not to talk about a small garden. Our devotional creeper is growing. Our devotional creeper is very tender, very mild, very sensible, very sensitive, and it doesn't have any strength to withstand on its own. It is not a banyan tree. So it is just a creeper. That is why it's called Bhakti Lata Beej. The seed is sown and we are trying to nourish the seed, and it is just a tender creeper which is trying to grow on the